And welcome back to Stories from the River. This is your host, Charlie Malouf, and I'm here in the home office studio. Joining me today is Manny Rodrigues, and we're here to talk about the latest and greatest news that just hit the wire for the river.
Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
Manny, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie. Happy to be with you this morning.
Merry Christmas. Manny, what are your Christmas plans this year? I think I heard something about some pickleball tournaments.
Merry Christmas, Charlie. We're excited to spend some time with family and with friends. And here in the Southeast, here in Charlotte at HQ, it's warm. It's warm. It's going to be in the mid-60s, so perfect weather to get outdoors and play some pickleball, maybe go on a long walk, maybe play some tennis. Maybe a family kickball game. We're going to be outdoors, that's for sure. If it's 65 degrees, let's get after it.
That's right. I just got back from Mississippi. Of course, I went to the college football playoff game where Ole Miss faced Tulane, and we took care of them. Had some great experience, great family time, and got to see my mom and my brother and cousins and whatnot. And anyways, I looked at their forecast, and it's going to be in the mid to upper 70s for like the next 5 or 6 days. But, my wife was telling me, we were driving back from the airport last night. She said, I don't like a warm Christmas. She's like, I like it to be cold, and she wants it to feel like Christmas. I'm like, yeah, I'm good with it being warm. It's okay. It's okay. Well, listen, we had a big town hall last week, and had a lot of great things to celebrate, and then we had one more thing that we had on the teaser from Thursday's episode that we did on the podcast to kind of recap the town hall that we had that morning. And one more thing, and then one more thing was another big announcement. So, Manny, what do we have? What's our one more thing?
Well, our one more thing, and yes, you're exactly right. It was a great town hall to really recap some amazing accomplishments for the year, to recognize so many amazing memory makers in our teams. And I love the head fake on the town hall, which is a lot of fun, about our growth. We are a growth. We are a sunrise company, and we are going to continue to grow and continue to look for growth where it makes sense. And so we are growing to Portland. And so you may think that Portland out there with our recent announcement in Spokane, you may have thought it would have been Portland, Oregon, and you would have been wrong. So the head fake was a lot of fun. We're going to Portland, Maine, completely other side of the country, in New England, a place I know very well and I'm fond of. And so we are so excited to announce today. We have announced it via our press release, and now here on Stories from the River, our growth into New England, into the state of Maine, and we're excited to lay some roots down there in South Portland, Maine, with our first location. We have a lot of excitement. A lot of our memory makers, after hearing this news, were reaching out with just connections to this market, having family up there, or having spent time up there. And so, Charlie, it looks like we're heading up to Maine. Yeah.
Well, to be clear, you are from New England. This is northern New England. You don't have family in Maine, I don't believe.
I do not. Not that I'm aware of, no. Big family, but none in Maine.
So we're going to go be maniacs. So listen, the way this came about, we were in Project Cascade, and that was our Spokane, our inland northwest expansion opportunity. And by the way, when I talk to people from Seattle, they're like, they said, welcome to the PNW. A lot of people say, welcome to the PNW. And I say, well, they actually call themselves the Inland Northwest. They're like, I've never heard of that. And I'll send them the Wikipedia or a link to it. And because when you leave the airport from Spokane, it says, welcome to the Inland Northwest. I mean, Spokane is 5 hours from Seattle. It's on the complete other side of the state. So anyways, that project was alive and well, going well, nearly 2 years in the making. We just soft opened the store this past Saturday. What was that, December 20th, 21st? 20th. Yeah, 20th. We got a call earlier this year from corporate that asked us if we were interested in the opportunity. I guess we've had a propensity for growth and for kind of going into non-traditional areas. And Ashley, had been in Spokane before, and Ashley had been in Maine before, but it had been many, many years. It'd been like since October 2009 since Ashley the last previous licensee had shut down in the state of Maine in this area. And so you're familiar with this area a lot more than I was. And, I had never been to Maine, but we went and studied the market. We worked with our partners, developed a point of view, and we went to explore it. And we said, hey, you know what? There's a lot of similarities here in terms of demographics, population, head counts. There's some differences, economic differences. You're the Northwest versus the Northeast. But in terms of like market size and everything, the greater Portland area, it's a sizable market. It's a number 78 in the DMA rankings. It's a top 80 market. It's a sizable market. Several hundred, over 500,000 people live in the greater Portland area, and it's growing. It's growing tremendously. And really it's kind of like an offshoot from Boston, as we kind of saw. They kind of spread out, north, west, and south from Boston. And this is that northern expansion. But we started to develop a point of view of the entire state of Maine. So that was a great trip. We were there this past summer and really explored the market. And Manny, we kind of landed on the South Portland area as our target location where we wanted to go. There's some good competition in this market, but that means they're kind of a good destination for shopping for furniture. But we're going to the original, what I would call the traditional or original Furniture Row in Portland, Maine. So talk about the location, and what do you think that means to us, and why we selected this location?
Yeah, I think that's well said. Well, again, following us and as you've documented here on Stories from the River many times, it's about the process, right? It's about asking the right questions and being curious. And so we learned a lot. We've learned a lot about this market, and we went and studied it now multiple times. And so the location that we've settled on is a really exciting one because it really is the entrance point to this Furniture Row. And there is a lot of competition there. But again, being partnered with the number one name in furniture and having a team that knows how to execute this brand new Ashley 7.0 design, we're really excited to bring all of these elements to Jetport Plaza, which is really backs up right to the airport there in Portland. So very, very close to the airport. As soon as you land, you can think about those furniture purchases and make your way there, and we'll be right there at the entrance, visible almost from the highway. But really excited about this opportunity because this shopping center, there's a great investment going in here. We have some amazing landlords, and looking forward to working with them as we redevelop this site to be an Ashley 7.0 location. It's going to include an Ashley outlet, an expanded sleep shop. It'll also have, first in this market, our newest collection that'll open up, which will be Ashley Luxe. And so really, really excited. 44,900 square feet. So a premier furniture shopping destination, and going to be led and staffed with amazing memory makers that really just deliver an amazing retail experience to all the folks there in South Portland. So we're excited about it. It's a beautiful location. It's got some great competition around us that makes us better, and we look forward to competing with them. But really excited for the folks that call Portland home and Portland and around Portland home, because they're going to have another great location to go shop for furniture in the future.
No doubt.
Charlie, as we visited Maine, I remember you saying this is the first time you've ever been in the state. And so for me, that's exciting. That's exciting to kind of visit a state that, I've been to. I grew up just south of Maine in Rhode Island, as you all know. And so tell me what you thought about this state when you got to visit and spend some time in Portland and got to taste some of that culinary elements up there. What did you think about the market?
Well, it's interesting, Manny. When you were telling me about Portland and how to think about it, I had never been to Portland. I know you'd been. I actually know Charlie Workman had been, because he had flown out of there and called me from Portland, Maine. I remember thinking one time, Portland, Maine? What are you doing in Portland, Maine? But you were telling me, Charlie, think about like Charleston, coastal towns. And well, so I know Charleston very well. Been there a lot, vacationed around there. And now having gone there, I would tell you, I would call it maybe like a combination of Asheville and Charleston in one. It kind of got that eclectic, artsy feel to it, that vibe. Definitely a coastal town, and so whether it's Savannah, Charleston, those are the ones I'm kind of maybe more familiar with here on the East Coast. We went there during the summer, not the winter. I think that helps. And we visited the Portland Headlight. You and I did, and we did our Lighthouse Fund launch from the Portland Headlight, which is about 15 minutes from there in Cape Elizabeth. So that was really cool to see that lighthouse. Flew my family up at the end of a visit to Maine to Bangor, picked them up because there's direct flights from Charlotte to Bangor, just like Charlotte to Portland, at least during the summer there were. And then we went and did a weekend in Bahaba at Acadia National Park. And so this will be called Project Acadia, just like our Spokane project was Project Cascade. But I'll tell you, we stayed at the Longfellow Hotel, so there's, you got like Stephen King, you got some famous people and who would, you'd be surprised who are either from or live or vacation in Maine. There's like Kenny Bunkport, Maine and whatnot. But we went to this restaurant called Scales on the water. Man, that was amazing. So the culinary cuisine was something I'm really looking forward to. I like to eat, Manny. I think you've had a few meals with me before, so I think you can attest to that. So anyway, the food was great. The coastal town is great. And the development, the growth, I was really blown away by the vibrancy of the community and how much it's growing. And so, listen, let's talk about the location for a little bit, though. We have another location off I-95. And then, so if you take I-95 and just keep driving north, so we're familiar with Interstate 95. You mentioned that it's close to it's the Portland Airport is actually called Portland International Jetport, and so we kind of butt up against it. The shopping center, the back of the shopping center is basically the airport, and then the interstate is like one side of the shopping center, and so we're like right off the exit at Interstate 95. Coming into Jetport Plaza, and then it's perched at the top of the hill, and it's a former Burlington coat, and so they wanted to relocate, and you know what? We wanted to locate there because this is like the start of the furniture retail corridor shopping area in the Portland area. Matter of fact, the former Ashley Furniture home store was just a little bit down the road on this road. And so we're also across from the Maine Mall, and there's a big furniture retailer there called Jordan's. Jordan's Furniture is at the Maine Mall. So you've got, them and us will be right at the start of this kind of furniture row. And it's a big clean space. That we'll get to go into. You mentioned our landlord who we've met, Marty and Bonnie. They're great people from the Galloway group. And we'll be the anchor space in the middle of this shopping center. And so we're super excited about that. And when we get a big space like this, over 40,000 square feet, you alluded to it and you mentioned it. We love to do a 2-in-1 location. We love to bring both formats. I know you love the latest and greatest showroom designs, 7.0, and you love the Ashley outlet store within the store. And who doesn't love an expanded sleep shop? We were talking last week, like, what's the largest sleep shop we have? And we know Spokane is the largest with 85 mattresses. And so now everyone's competing for number 2, 48, 49, 50. So this will be a big one, I'm sure. So we're coming in with our best foot forward for our flagship location for Maine. And I want to talk in a second about building out Maine, but I know you were super excited about, being on the same time zone as our other locations and being so close to home and your home, where you're from, where your parents still live, because it's kind of like a train ride or a drive up or a quick hop over from Providence in Rhode Island where you are. So talk about kind of like your experience with Maine, what you've kind of always thought about Maine, why you're super excited about the Maine opportunity, and then let's delve into like what happens after this location, and then let's talk about timing.
Yeah, no, it's that's a great. That was one of the questions I had, is because we're getting that question now. Is, hey, so Portland, Maine. Okay, well, where else would you go in Maine to build out the state? And so I'm glad we'll hit on that here in this episode. But for me, growing up in Rhode Island, Maine is Maine definitely back then felt a long ways away. And that's where you'd go for, camping trips or, to go, hiking, skiing. That's mostly in New Hampshire and Vermont, some amazing areas up there. But it's definitely northern New England. And so there's, as you got to experience with your family, there's some beautiful national park up there in Acadia. And so just a really beautiful part of the country. And so Portland, we got to spend some time there recently with friends for a 40th birthday party. That was the last time we were all there. And so that was a couple years ago. And so this was really cool to get back there and to really see, like you said, the vibrancy of that city. It's really young. It's really growing. Folks moving to that part, moving up north because maybe it's a little bit more affordable, but just slightly because it's pretty expensive numbers and analytics that we were studying there. So yeah, it's exciting to be closer to home, to seeing my parents. It's exciting to be on the East Coast because I think for us, we continue to use all of our team's capabilities and how to support this market. And so that'll be a fun another test to do, just like we've done here with our recent test out in Spokane. But it's an exciting project for us. It's an exciting project for our memory makers. It'll make us better. We're going to learn a whole lot. And naturally, like the next question that we get that you alluded to was, okay, well, how do we do it? So, it's really important. I've learned this from you. It's really important how we enter a market. It's really important, whether that's a market here in the Carolinas, when we're thinking about going into a market like Columbia or Raleigh, even here in Charlotte, like our positioning in the market is really important. And that's important here on our home turf. But when we go to a place that's 1,200 miles away, 2,500 miles away, yeah, it's really, really important of the intentionality and purpose behind how we enter. So I'm so excited about the way we're entering this Portland, Maine market because it's a beautiful location. We've got landlords, like you mentioned, with Bonnie and Marty and the Galloway group that are just great to work with. But then what? I mean, now the question, Charlie, becomes, where do we go from here? What are some of the questions that we would have to ask ourselves about next steps?
Before we get into next steps, let's talk about the comparisons and what we learned from Spokane to Maine, because this is kind of different, right? For many, many years and decades, we said we want to grow from a strong concentric circle and within a drive away from home base, being Charlotte or Fort Mill, South Carolina, whichever, essentially the same thing. And so we kind of went disjointed from that to the Northwest because we saw an opportunity, and also because we had this goal, this revenue target that we were trying to get to by 2030, and we knew that we had to broaden our aperture and be a little bit more creative to the opportunities about how we look at growth. We look at same store opportunities in all those levels. We look at filling in markets, the hub and spoke market, going after a market penetration number and a market share number, and then we look at like new concepts within our existing markets, like the Ashley outlet concept, and then we look at new markets, whether they're greenfield like Spokane or acquisition, like most recently when we did Project Seahawk in the 2 stores in Wilmington. And so when we looked at the Spokane opportunity, we looked at the whole DMA and we said, we think this is probably about a 3-store opportunity when you look at the kind of the shopping patterns, maybe more, maybe the hub and spoke, but we got to go get the hub first and then kind of understand the market. And then we want to kind of build density from there. And very similarly, when we look at Maine and how you kind of can distribute there, it could be a 2 or 3 store market. If you go up to Bangor and down to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, for instance, but also it could be more than that. It could be 2 flagship stores and 2 or 3 more smaller stores to service the market. When you look at Bangor, Ellsworth, going to Bar Harbor, Bahaba, when you look at Augusta or Lewiston or Brunswick, you've got a lot of, and I mentioned earlier Portsmouth. So we'll go in there and understand the market, kind of understand the pull from the greater Portland area, and then kind of where we position our distribution center, and then how we go from there. The differences to Spokane, we alluded to, like it's a little bit closer. It's on the same time zone. It's not 3 levels. It's 1 level, but it will be Ashley 7.0. But, Tyler asked me this on the podcast last week, and I want to ask you this. What did we learn about our people or our ability to kind of do a market, 1,000 miles away or more in Spokane that gives us the confidence to go do something like this again in Maine? What do you think that we learned?
Well, I think what we've learned and we continue to learn is the resilience and grit. That's a core piece of our DNA here at Broad River. And so things come up. Things are coming up daily. And it's kind of how we choose to face those things that come up, those opportunities, and how we navigate through them, bob and weaving, but ultimately focused on getting better. And so I love how our teams come together, how they've collaborated on just being innovative with some solutions on how to receive product in some maybe some challenging areas, how to do more with less, being really resourceful, because as you mentioned, home base here in the Carolinas, we open a new location. I mean, we have an army that shows up day one, and so that it's a little bit different when we're 1,200 miles or 2,500 miles away, and so we have to be creative. We have to be intentional with how we set those plans, and even with well set plans, things will come up. And so, how do we then interact with each other? How do we then lean on each other to get better, to figure it out, and to get to the ultimate goal, which is opening a beautiful location that will help continue the purpose of what we set out to do each day. So yeah, I think what we've learned is that our team is really, really gritty. It's really, really gritty. And one of the Wannickisms that we love is being a dirty fingernail company. And so like you have to roll up those sleeves and you have to dig in and get in there and ask good questions and figure out what could be around the corner that could hold us back. And so I'm so thankful and grateful for our team. And it's been exciting to see us open on time out there in Spokane and starting to see customers come through those doors.
Yeah. You mentioned resilience. First of all, I would tell you, what I shared with Tyler last week on the podcast was I start from a base of very high expectations for our people. Like I had a high degree of confidence that we could go knock out and crush Spokane in that Project Cascade. And I believe that we have, and by the way, you mentioned it. There's a fire drill. You just don't know where it's going to come from, right? There's going to be unexpected hiccups. Part of going into a market like that, you have to think smaller, or you have to unlearn some things. It's a lot different than when we're have this order of magnitude and scale. But going in, you have to think like a mom and pop, almost like a one-store operator. And so you're not going to have as much safety stock. You're not going to have as many resources to deploy. We've flown a lot of our relocation budget. I've looked at the numbers. We've flown a lot of people back and forth for many days or weeks on end. And we had some culture carriers who transferred over there. And we'll have some people as well to kind of raise their hand in Maine and say, hey, I want to go up there. I like that opportunity for growth, for just opportunity. Or maybe I have a sister, aunt, uncle, or cousins or family who live up there. Maybe I just want to live on the water, what have you, or try something new. And so we'll have a handful of those, I'm sure, again. But our people. So I say all that about our people, but I do want to kind of let our audience know you've got to have a resilient balance sheet. And look, some of these things might not work. And so you also you can't kind of go in with your eyes closed and, I hope it all works. Like, hey, you know what? It might not work. And you know what? We're going to try some things. We're going to be experimental. We've had a lot of failures in our last 23 years and some things that we tested, tried, and then had to shut down, whether they were different concepts or different ways of operating, what have you. Not everything's going to work. So you want to have a strong operating and financial base in the budgeting system to kind of go in and approach it. You got to have good partners. You got to kind of know what you're getting into. And look, it might not work, but it's a challenge to say, can we cascade our culture and go into another area that we've never been in? And then you got to make sure that you're patient and opportunistic on real estate, because these are things. So I think we've got a great landlord that we're working with here, a great location, and then the economics make sense for our model and our projections. You got to understand your projections and how you're going to operate. And we're going to have to work hard to kind of find the right distribution model and kind of grow into. We're going to have to figure out how do we live within our harvest and then grow into that. So speaking of growing into that. We deploy a hub and spoke model a lot here in Broad River. We have in the Southeast, we have 3 distribution centers in the Southeast. Fort Mill, South Carolina, that services Charlotte, Columbia, the Midlands area, and then Augusta, Georgia. We have Spartan Ridge, that services all of the upstate plus west of South Carolina plus western North Carolina. And then we have The Rock, 4 Oaks off I-95, which services all of the kind of Raleigh, Durham, Fayetteville market, the Research Triangle area, and then into the coast of Wilmington, North Carolina. So 3 DCs, and they're all kind of racked anywhere from 30 up to 40-foot clear height, racked, and so it's a different operating model with stock and inventory, and things of that nature. And so it's a little bit different here. But how are we looking at this hub and spoke model, Manny, for Maine?
And we do get a lot of benefits of how we are set up here in the Southeast. For Maine, we'll again have to be very opportunistic, but ultimately thoughtful on learning for the first 24 months of what that gravitational pull is and sales for the folks coming to our South Portland location. And so we are active right now and looking for a distribution center there that will service South Portland. And we'll be active and we'll try to find something that gives us some agility and some flexibility so that we can learn, that we can grow into it. One of the sayings that we love is we have to live within our harvest. And so for that, we'll find a great location to get this product in, to get it out to our customers, but then also to learn throughout that time period as we then go to understand maybe a longer term solution, which is very similar to what we have here in the Southeast, finding locations where we can rack and hold more product and be a stocking retailer so that we can get this product to her faster. And it's also really great for our memory makers that work here and that get repetition on handling the product, training, the culture in our DCs is something that we're really, really proud of. We think about our success rate. So all those repetitions, having that throughput in these warehouses allow us that opportunity to get better each day. So yeah, for the first little bit, we're gonna learn a lot, and we're gonna be excited about learning. But then we're gonna really look to find that hub and spoke model to service this great state of Maine and Portsmouth, New Hampshire, in a really intentional way.
Yeah, I think it's well said. I mean, we like the continental U.S. We're not looking to go across the pond to Portugal just yet. I mean, that's where your rest of your family lives or is from.
Big pond. It's a big pond.
Yeah. So that's a big pond. So we'll keep it in the continental U.S. For the opportunities. But starting from a strong base in Portland, we've identified Bangor as a great opportunity for future expansion. We think that's a completely different shopping area pattern and a sizable, dense market to serve. Up in northern Maine. And then you've got kind of the opportunities south, down in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, right across the border, which is growing and vibrant. And then there's a lot in between, Portland and Bangor. You look at Brunswick, Freeport, you look at Lewiston or Augusta. And so we'll look for opportunities there to kind of fill in and build out the state of Maine as we're kind of developing our opportunity here. And the good thing is, I think this store, our first conversations with the powers that be for Spokane were January 2024, and here we are almost January 2026. So that's almost 2 years in the making. This one will go a little bit faster. And so I think that, let's talk about timing. The landlord's going to be investing a lot of work. They're going to be putting a lot of work to kind of give us a warm vanilla box, a good clean shell. And then they're putting a lot of work into the facade. And I know you've already had some GCs raising their hand, Manny, that we're comfortable with, that I think general contractors, we're looking to try to get the store open in the first half of the new year, which is pretty aggressive. And I know you guys are really used to kind of compressing these timelines, like we just fast-tracked easily. And so right now, what are you projecting for the soft opening timeframe for South Portland, Maine?
Yeah, that's well said. Well, we are excited. We are excited about the timeline. We're excited about the landlords and how they'll hand the box over to us, being a warm shell. And so our GC, our timeline has us opening this beautiful new location in mid-May of 2026. So to be able to open in the first half of 2026 is really exciting. And so what that means is right after this episode airs, we're right back at it, looking for amazing talent, looking for an amazing DC. So lots of work to do between now and then, but really, really excited about the team that's gonna be accomplishing this work together, and excited to get soft opened in South Portland, Maine, middle of May.
Man, I'm so excited about that. To get it open before Memorial Day, that's simply amazing. Are you ready to announce our general contractor for this project, or are we still holding back on that? Have we not decided, or architect? Are you willing to put forth that at this point?
Not yet. Not quite yet. The announcement just went out, as you know, this morning to the press and to Furniture Today, and so we're in active conversations. But to your point earlier, we have a lot of folks that want to do this with us. And so we have a GC here who's worked with us in the Southeast that is excited and said, hey, I will go up there and help you with this, because it's on the East Coast, and it's easier to go back and forth. And so, it's really great. We talk about this on several of these episodes. They're not vendors to us. Language is cultural. And so they truly are partners. They show up. They know how important these timelines are in retail, how important the timelines are, how important the budgets are. And so they're constantly helping us navigate through what looks great, what can we do to enhance the look. So I would say our partners are right there alongside us, as well as the Ashley design team. The Ashley design team is moving really, really quickly to help us get this location ready to go. So lots of folks that make this thing happen.
I love that. You mentioned budgets. We build our budgets for the year. We start working on them back in July, August, finalize them by the revenue numbers by September, early October, start dotting the I's and crossing the T's, by throughout the month of October and into November. And we're ready to go by early November. And then we kind of finish it up and have our stakeholders letter and kind of all that. So this Portland store is actually not in our financial budget. It's a plus up, just like Easley was to our budget, which is great. We love Lanyap. Yeah. We don't have another Maine store in the budget either for 2026, but you never know. You never know. So right now, the greater Portland market, no, not that Portland, Maine, here on the East Coast, the furthermost northern state that you can go, northeastern state, northern New England. Broad River Retail is broadening the aperture and going to the northern New England and the state of Maine. We're looking forward to developing the Ashley store concept in this market, in this state. And Manny, thanks for joining me for this announcement of our brand new Ashley store and outlet in South Portland, Maine. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're wrapping up the 4th season here at Stories from the River. It's been a wonderful 4 years. We love the feedback that we get. We get a lot of people watching us on YouTube or listening in on Apple or Spotify, and also the shorts and the reels that we're posting on TikTok or Instagram or LinkedIn or even the YouTube shorts. We're going to change it up going into 2026. It'll be a different publishing format and more on the shorter form videos. And we'll still be involved with the storytelling, going behind the scenes here at Broad River Retail on our journey. We have a 2030 vision, so more on that to come. But come back on Thursday, on Christmas Day, as Manny joins his father-in-law, Pastor Jimmy Callum, for a wonderful Christmas episode here at Stories from the River. I can't wait to check that one out. Pastor Jimmy was mine and Kelly's pastor for many, many years over at Church at Charlotte, and it's going to be awesome. Manny, you want to give us a teaser for Thursday's episode?
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. I'm so excited and really blessed to have this time with my father-in-law and potentially my mother-in-law. She might make a guest appearance. She's spontaneous and she likes to be a disruptor, so she might jump on and really just be with us as we extend some Christmas wishes to all and talk about the season, talk about Jimmy and what he's doing now and how he's even connected here with what we do here at Broad River through his just amazing talent that he has. So yeah, we're grateful for the opportunity, grateful for this platform to be able to share that story.
Yeah, well, and I love their podcast too. I listen to that. I'm sure you'll give them plenty of plugs, tandem spirituality and struggling well. So anyways, we'll save that for Thursday. Merry Christmas. And you won't see me the rest of this year. I think you've got Manny and his father-in-law, maybe his mother-in-law for Thursday. And then next week, our final episode of the year will be our head coach Stacy McCormick with the $2 million man, Iron Mike Cohen. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We'll catch you in the new year with more from Stories from the River. Thanks so much for joining us, Manny. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. To watch this episode, go to youtube.com/@storiesfromtheriver. Join us again next week, and remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast.